It's 7:15 in case you're watching The Time this Monday morning. Good to have you with us on the South African Morning. I'm Gareth Edwards. Now, hubs need to be set up to give communities affected by the looting direct access to food. That's according to agricultural body AgriSA. It says that with supply chains broken, suppliers will not be able to reach many areas. We all know what that means, of course, as far as food security is concerned. AgriSA Executive Director Christo van der Rheede joins us. Christo, good morning to you. So let's talk about these hubs. How are we going to try and connect the pieces that are all broken?
Good morning, and good morning to all your viewers. As we all know, that many areas in KZN was left devastated in the wake of the looting that has taken place, and shops are the only place where people actually can buy food. So many of these shops were destroyed. And one of the appeals that we've made to the cabinet ministers we've met last week was to set up food hubs where people can access food and where your retailers can set up a sort of makeshift shop, temporary shop for the time being. Our big concern, obviously, is not just the urban areas, but rural areas. There we see that it remains very vulnerable, and we need, first and foremost, police protection, army protection in those areas so that farmers do what they do best, that is to produce food for the market. And we need all of our logistic network to be opened up and to be secured.
Let's talk a little bit, if we could, about the kind of security you're asking for, Christo. How concerned is the farming community about being able to, produce their goods, but then also transport this? When we talk about protection for them, are we suggesting SANDF, SAPS? How far down the rabbit hole would you like to see this protection go?
We are of the opinion that SANDF soldiers should be employed in especially rural areas, rural towns that have been completely destroyed due to the looting. That's very critical. We found that the police, in many instances, were not capable of managing the looters and the riots that took place. And then you had communities mobilizing themselves to protect their areas. And we all know what the consequences of that can be in many instances. So you need the presence of the army in these rural areas, not just in the city, just to bring some stability back and to restore law and order.
Let's not forget, Christo, that 70% of South African consumers buy their fresh produce, if I'm not mistaken, from informal traders. Where does AgriSA sit on this and trying to get those informal traders up and going again? Where are they going to get their produce from, do you think?
AgriSA has called on the cabinet ministers that we've met last week to open up the Durban fresh produce market and other markets as well, because 70% of your informal traders, they go to public markets to buy food there and distribute it to townships. So that for us is critical. We also know that many abattoirs were also damaged. We had instances where poultry farms were looted and chickens were stolen and other areas livestock. But that cannot continue, because that places, if you put the food producers on the risk, that means they won't be able to produce food for the province and for the rest of the country. So we need proper intervention in that space so that we can secure food production.
As we kick the tin a little bit further down the road, if I can use that turn of phrase, Christo, and we look perhaps in the next, say, month, 2 months, 3 months, how damaging has the looting been over the last week or so? What kind of long to medium term effects are we expecting as far as AgriSA is concerned?
Fortunately for South Africa, and I want to emphasize it, if it wasn't for the commercial farmers in our country and for a very sophisticated food distribution network, we would have been in serious trouble. During the pandemic, it was the agriculture sector that stepped forward to not only produce food for the country, but also to produce or to donate food, surplus food, to indigent communities. But it will take some time. We've seen massive losses, not just only in terms of the agriculture sector, but other infrastructure was damaged, and it will take some time. Fortunately, Sasria, together with other insurance companies, have committed themselves to make funding available. But the funding is not a problem. if we continue down this road of just go on looting sprees and trying to turn the country upside down, nobody will be prepared to invest money into any sector, because you stand to lose that money in no time. If law and order is not retained and there's no strict oversight in terms of that, then we're going to face serious trouble going forward, not just only in terms of food production, but in terms of attracting investment into any sector.
That's right. As we take a look at what the investors and international markets are going to look like in a couple of months from now, at least for the moment, we seem to have staved off some major concerns around food security. AgriSA Executive Director Christo van Rheede telling me about these food hubs for communities, particularly in KZN. It's a very good idea to try and get informal traders up and running again.